You already know. It is Thursday. It's 7 p.m. It is the Nfc East War Room here. 4 hosts, 4 teams, 1 show. It's time. My name is Paul Spencer. Of course, right next to me, I have the Giants
Danny.
representative. There
Yep.
you go. And
Yep.
who's below you?
Steve.
What's going on,
Yep.
Steve?
Not much.
Well-
Dismal week last week, but
Definitely.
we'll see what happens.
It's like week 1 was for us.
We are missing our Eagles representative. He's always late to the show. It's not a big deal. He will hop on when he gets here. I wanted to recap last week, but listen, Steve, I'm going to tell you something real quick. If he doesn't hop on when we start talking our game, that's an automatic forfeit, and you are going to win the game no matter what. That's what I know right now. So we're just going to keep it right there, okay? But let's recap last week. Let's talk about this Dallas game for a couple minutes here. I got about 20 words to say, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say. Special teams, offense, defense, we suck. That's all I'm going to say about the game real quick, okay? That's all I'm going to say. What do you guys think?
Go Cards.
Dan, don't start. Don't start, Dan. Don't start with me, okay?
I don't think they suck. I think their play calling was pretty bad in the game. I think some of it didn't make sense. Turnovers and your efficiency in the red zone is probably the main reason you lost this game. So I was happy to see it. I shouldn't say I was.
Yeah, I bet both of you were pretty happy to see it last week.
I wasn't satisfied. I was LOLing at the end. So, but you would have been doing the same thing if it was my team. So,
of course, that's why we have the show, the NFC Worst Room here, just trash talking to the best. But TJ says, "Good to see Paulie has recovered from the desert bomb." That's putting it lightly, a desert bomb. I think it was like a. Let's make it correct. The atom bomb just happened.
He was so mad. He was so mad.
Mm-hmm. But, where do you put the blame at? I mean, I don't want to hear the bullcrap missing 3 linemen. I don't want to hear that, number one. But when you have 10 penalties as a team, basically almost 9 in the first half going on, that's a problem with your coaching staff, number one. Number two, all 3 games, 12 red zone trips, 3 touchdowns. You're killing yourself. Fundamental football wins games. And you guys know how I feel about Dak. Never reading progressions. Looking at your number 1 receiver, throwing the ball constantly. Dan, you've seen this. Michael Gallup was in the end zone having a hot dog. He had mustard, and he was about to put some relish and onions on that damn dog.
Wide ass open. He could have been on a beach in a lounge chair. That's how wide open he was.
Yep. Yeah, TJ says penalties. Most, Dallas Cowboys, Mark McCarthy. It's just preach, TJ, preach.
The worst thing is it happened at the worst times. Like key times in that game, they have some horrible penalties you just can't have. Couple in a row, actually. I think in that game.
There was one false start, and they came back with a delay of game. How does that happen?
Two penalties in a row, I think, on that last drive.
I don't get it. I mean, in preseason, maybe week 1, I understand in the regular season, but not in week 3 here against a team that has no business even being an NFL team right now, the Arizona Cardinals.
Maybe they're better than we thought they were. But still, Dallas should have won this game. They are the better team. But if you turn the ball over, then have penalties, and you're inefficient in the red zone, you're done. You ain't winning that football game. It ain't happening.
I agree. TJ says it only counts as 1 loss. You're right. I mean, we still are, with 1 loss there. Rewrite the ship, move on to next week. But
exactly,
it doesn't get any better. We play the Patriots, and you're going against Yoda here, the defensive mind genius who there was a blueprint out there to say, hey, this is what Dak likes to see. This is what you don't like to see. We're using that. Take away your best player. That hurts me because we'll get into that game. But you take away Lamb, you're going to have Dak make sure he beats you with other wide receivers, and he hasn't done that in his career right now. Number 1 wide receiver, throw him the ball. If not, it's either a batted down ball or a pick 6 or an incomplete pass. But speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, really quick, I mean, they are 3-0, and of course, they always want to show up late because they think they're the best team out there. Of course, we went to the Super Bowl last year. I'm tired of hearing it, But guys, let's bring in our Eagles rep here. Oh, hold on there. Zach, are you there? There he is. There's Zach. Zach from 984 Spock Sports. How you doing, Zach?
Good. Fashionably late, as they say.
Yeah, well, what do you expect from an Eagles fan? They think they're the cream of the crop. They own everything out there, so why not? It just fits the bill, Zach.
I know it does. At least we didn't lose to the Cardinals, so there's that.
You really have
that's
you know what?
That's awesome.
Man, I tell you, God, Zach, we're talking about the Cowboys game here real quick. What did you see in that game? Keep it nice, please, because my 20 words were offense, defense, special teams. We suck.
Don't.
What did
All
you
right.
say?
So first of all, I actually rooted for the Cowboys in that game because I speak with my wallet, not with my art.
I
So
did too.
I put a lot of money on that. And let's
Yeah.
just say the Cowboys did not come through for me. But, honestly, Dak Prescott's an average, above average quarterback. When things aren't going perfect for him, they go really south really quickly. And when you're missing a bunch of offensive linemen
Yep.
and things just aren't clicking offensively, it gets really bad and really ugly. And Dak is just not that guy that's going to overcome certain things on a football team. And offensive line is one of those things.
Agree,
Yep.
100%, 100%. And I've always been this, you're paying $40 million for a quarterback who can't read a progression tree, Zach. He looks down number one wide receiver. We've seen it so many times, countless times. You take away the number one wide receiver, you make him beat you. And to me, he's not the quarterback that can beat you with a progression right now. He can't do it. I don't want to hear excuses. O-line was banged up, missing, Tyron Smith, Baez, and Zach Martin, all universe. But I don't understand the player personnel. If that's the case and you're getting beat on the O-line, go 12 personnel, go 13 personnel.
Yep.
Play calling as well. 12 trips in red zones this year, 3 touchdowns. You got to give me more than that. You got to give me more.
They got really cute in the red zone too. I didn't
Yeah,
like the play
exactly.
calling down in the red zone. And then a
Yes.
couple of times where they threw
Hmm.
in the screen passes to the running back out the back, they worked. That's what's going to minimize the blitz. That's going to open up the game for you. And for whatever reason, they only went to the well a couple of times. I thought they would
Hmm.
have been a lot better off doing more of the screen plays, the quick slants, trying to get the ball out of Dak's hands quickly. One of the
Agree.
best things about Tom Brady is being able to get the ball out of his hands quickly, no matter
Yeah,
who was playing offensive line, and it always made those guys up front look so much better. In that particular
100%.
situation for one game, get rid of the ball quickly.
Quick game.
100%. I agree with that. I mean,
Yep.
if you're going to bring the safety blitz or a fire blitz or even an extra man, coming off a stunner twist, there's got to be a hot route. That slant is wide open in the middle. Wherever he's coming, that wide receiver and that quarterback connection needs to know where it's coming from. And what better way to do that or a blitz buster is a quick screen pass. They
Yep.
need to start doing it. They need to because when they don't do it, the extra guys coming down to the box. Your corners are playing man to man. The safeties are coming down to the box, and that's going to be something that's very hard for Dallas with a quarterback like Dak right now. It really is.
Yep.
So enough about that game. Let's talk about the Eagles game last week. What did you see there, Zach? I mean, St. Joe's Prep. I mean, my kids went to St. Joe's here. DeAndre Swift. I love the kid. Met him quite a few times, but I can't stand the way he's running right now, man. As a division foe here.
Honestly, so going into Monday night, I thought this was the perfect game to get Jalen back on track throwing the ball because you got a stout run defense, and just the way that our offensive line was able to manhandle that front seven for the Bucks was just
Yeah.
pretty incredible. Because if you've seen over the last couple of years, the Eagles are at the best when they're controlling the line of scrimmage, when they're
Hmm.
running the ball, and then you get a guy like DeAndre Swift, like, hey, all right, he's got 3 or 4 yards before somebody touches him. Guess what? That guy that touches him, he's going to make a miss. And that's the incredible part about it. And A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts starting to get back on the same page. They looked really well. There's a couple of misconnections with other receivers, but we'll handle that as the time comes. The best thing is to be able to still improve while being 3-0. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So being 3-0 is fine and dandy, but I want to start out red hot towards the end of the season going into the postseason.
I agree. I mean, when DeAndre Swift played for the Lions here, a lot of times when he got to the second level, he was trying to get yak yards at that point. With the Eagles, he's not even getting touched at the second level. That linebacker
Exactly.
all there, and it's insane what this offensive line is doing right now. It really
Their
is.
offensive line is great, and if they could just impose their will, the Eagles,
Mhm.
that's what worries me about them when I play them. Once that
Mhm.
run game gets going, they are so dangerous on offense, and that's
Exactly.
how they beat teams.
Exactly. Now, real quick before we get move on to the other team here, Zach, how are you grading this team so far from week 1 to 3 right now? Where do you see they can change going into week 4?
So I just want to see the team be more effective offensively. Defensively, I want them to get big stops on third downs, but offensively, it's all about moving the chains and finishing drives in the red zone. Once again, like the Cowboys, they get a little too cute. They do these fancy plays. No need. Just get the ball in the red zone. There's a couple of plays where, hey, 3 times in a row, we're going to throw the ball. Why? You have one of the better running backs in the league. You got a great offensive line.
Yeah.
Pound the rock. If I got to pound the rock 3 times, I'm going to pound the rock 3 times. So I know with a new offensive coordinator, they're still trying to work out some kinks. But like I said, the best part about as bad as they have looked the past 3 weeks, they're still 3-0.
Very true. In the win column, there's all 3 W's right now, right? Doesn't you can grade them away, but they're beating who's in front of you right now. That's the good thing about it. But
Absolutely.
all right, so let's move on to the Washington Commanders down there. What did you see last week, Steve?
Aside from the obvious blowout against Buffalo, basically to the tune of 37-3, it was, we knew that there were going to be growing pains with second-year quarterback Sam Howell, essentially in a full rookie season campaign. And unfortunately, that was the game that was the growing pains. When you have 6 turnovers, 4 of which are interceptions by your starting quarterback, 2 of them in the red zone, you're not going to win a football game, regardless of how many points you put on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And when you also take into account that you now dubiously lead the NFL in sacks allowed for your quarterback with 19, which is 33% more than the rest of the league, that's also going to spell disaster for your team. And, kind of like, unfortunately, you guys in Dallas this week, all 3 of our fronts were just not very good.
Mm-hmm.
The defense wasn't necessarily bad. It was just the problem was they were on the field over half the game. So, when the offense can't put points on the board and give you sustained drives, you're not going to get the best production out of your defense that you can.
Gotcha. What was there any positive? I mean, can you take any positive out of this 33-7 loss last week?
We didn't get shut out, right? That's probably the only positive. But I think if there's a positive, as shitty as it sounds, that for the crappy team game, especially offensively, this is probably going to be the biggest learning curve and learning opportunity for Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy, right? So the first 2 games were kind of average to above average offensively, nothing spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is the first big roadblock for both of those guys who are both in their first season working together. So, it's going to be, how do they learn from this? How do we adapt from this? What changes do we make? And, oh, by the way, we got a spectacular team, at 3-0 in the Philadelphia Eagles that we got to take on in 3 days. So, it's going to be a true test to see the resilience of this team, more specifically the offense of this team.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we got TJ chiming in. Skins 0 sacks on Allen. I mean, Steve, I know you talked about it on Tuesday nights with Commander Gridiron there regarding that comment right there. Are you worried going into this game here? Jalen Hurts can still run the ball, even though he's not running the ball this year. You struggle with running quarterbacks.
We do struggle with mobile quarterbacks, and it's kind of interesting that gets brought up, because when you look at the Buffalo game, even though we didn't get any sacks, the secondary was good enough to produce coverage and some sound coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And the front 4, especially in Allen, Payne, Sweat, and Young, weren't getting the sack pressure, but they were getting pressure. And then, oh, by the way, we just weren't accounting for Allen. I think Allen's longest run against us was 23, 25 yards. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like we had to have a guy spying on him. And that's unfortunately, I kind of see that possibly being the game plan with Philadelphia. Basically trying to have a guy that kind of spies Jalen Hurts, because he's not afraid to use his legs. We'll definitely give him that when he needs to, he'll tuck and run.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we get into next week's game, let's hear about another team that basically shit the bed this week too. Let's talk about the New York Giants. I mean, hey, at least Zach, he can be positive this week. The other 3 of you in the room are, we got a frown on our face, But talk about the Giants real quick before we get into this week's matchups. Dan, what did you see last week?
I thought their defense played well, especially in the first half. I thought, they did all they could, but they got worn out in the second half, and the offense was awful. The offensive line, once again, you had Andrew Thomas out, you had Barkley out. Neal did a little better, but he gave up that sack to Bosa, almost gave up a safety. So the negatives are the Giants' offense and their offensive line once again.
Okay.
But some of the positives, I thought McFadden played well. I thought their defense played well. But they have no pass rush. Their pass rush is non-existent,
So
and that's really a big problem for them
So
now.
you mean to tell me Thibodeau's still on an MIA milk carton? Is that what you're saying?
He is on an MIA milk carton, and I don't know what to say. He has to do more, but their pass rush is non-existent. And if your pass rush is non-existent with two rookie corners, although I like the way Banks plays and the way that I thought McFadden played well, but when your offense stalls like the Giants' offense does, and versus the 49ers, they give up a lot of third and longs, 3rd and 10 or more. But for the Giants, it's really their offensive line again was a problem. They hardly ran the ball this game. They probably had a total of like not even 15 runs total the whole game.
Okay.
But when you're down like you are, for them, their offensive line and their pass rush is non-existent, and their offense just doesn't look very good. But when you don't have Barkley, you have Thomas. I expect them to struggle. I didn't expect them to win the game.
Gotcha. All right. Well, listen. Hey, three teams lost last week. Of course, the Eagles are prevailing 3-0 here. Another win in the winning column. But before we get into this week's matchup, we're going to start with the Eagles versus Commanders here, real quick. I do want to read some comments real quick regarding the Eagles here. DeAndre Swift is averaging 7 yards prior to contact, as we talked about. That second level
that O-line
is insane there.
Yep.
Zach, is this all the O-line, or are we giving credit to DeAndre Swift for being patient and reading the holes?
So you got to give credit to both these guys over here because the offensive line is one of the best in the business. Mm-hmm. And then obviously you get a guy like DeAndre Swift that can be patient, hit the hole, and when he hits it hard, and he's able to make guys miss. So I'm going to give him 50-50 credit with both of them. And if you listen to guys like Jason Kelsey, who have their own podcast, he would say the same exact thing, and I'm sure he has on his podcast, like, hey, listen, we'll take some credit, but all the credit in the world goes to a guy like DeAndre Swift, who's just been incredible over the last handful of weeks.
I agree. We're going to read some of the other comments here, but more reflecting toward the game that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about this Commanders, going up the I-95 to the link here. Since you're the home field, I mean, what are we looking at this week? I mean, I know last time they came down there, they ruined your perfect season as it was transforming into one. Are we going to see anything here? I mean, this is a different story, different team. What do we see so far?
So I do like how the Commanders are resilient. They don't give up. They're going to keep on fighting through things. I actually like them as this year's Giants. Like the Giants last year, they surprised some teams. I do like the Commanders. They had 2 good wins the first 2 weeks. The third week, obviously, they got blown out by the Bills. I don't think they're as good as week 2. I don't think they're as bad as week 3. I think they're somewhere in between. And in the NFC, that might just be good enough to sneak into a postseason game. As far as this game goes, division games, you never know. I never trust division games. But when I look at that offensive line for the Commanders and our defensive front, we can keep it fresh. We can keep rotating. We should be able to feast on Sam Howell and make him see ghosts like Sam Darnold has in the past.
So we're gonna be doing that movie, seeing Ghost Part 2 this week, right?
If all goes the way that I would expect it, especially giving up 19 sacks in 3 weeks, like he spoke about over there, this is a game that the Eagles front line, offensively, defensively, should be able to control the majority of the game. The only thing is the Commanders are a gritty team. They're going to grind it out. They're going to try to move the ball, whether it's throwing deep passes or just death by 1,000 cuts, and they got a lot of weapons on that offensive side of the ball. So if they can figure out a way, max protection, chip block, whatever they need to do to give Sam Howell the ability to read the team and throw to the right route, that's really what it's going to come down to. But ultimately, I don't foresee an Eagles loss here.
I don't either. Well, Steve, you know what? You heard all the, everything about the Eagles here. I mean, what are you compensating with that? I mean, how can you win this game, based on what Zach's saying?
So, and it's interesting because Zach brings up a lot of great points for the Eagles winning. And as much as I would love to see a Commanders victory this week, I just don't see it happening. I know we're resilient. I know we're gritty, but, I just think that the Eagles, both offensively and defensively, are just are going to be overmatching what the Commanders can do, regardless of how we bounce back from the Buffalo loss. And let's just take offensively first. But the biggest thing that Eric Bieniemy is going to have to do is figure out how to adapt Sam Howell and this offense to what happened to Buffalo. Because let's be honest, right? Buffalo is always a perennial Super Bowl contending team. The Eagles were at that spot last year, in going to the Super Bowl. So, basically, Buffalo and Philly are right on those tiers, and the Eagles are going to do basically the exact same thing that Buffalo did last week. And if we don't fix what happened against Buffalo, then we're basically going to repeat 2 weeks in a row. And it's interesting because in Bieniemy's press conference yesterday after practice, he's like, my job is to clean up the shit and continue moving this offense forward. And, as much as accountability as Sam Howell took for last week's loss, EB did the same thing. And I think the three keys to our offense, even somewhat being competitive or possibly pulling off a victory, is going to be somehow getting that pass protection figured out. Whether it's, multiple tight ends, chip blocks, keeping guys in, using, backs to try and block as well, something so that we don't give up as many sacks as we did against Buffalo. 2, last week, our wide receivers, if you watched the game or took notice, we had a horrible spacing. And I don't know if that was a result of play calling, if it was a result of motion when Sam Howell snapped the ball. I don't know what it was, but our wide receivers were not in great space to start out the play. And then, obviously when the play runs from there, they kind of self-destructs, right? And then I think the third thing is, Sam Howell's got to either read and make his progressions faster, which results in getting the ball, getting rid of the ball quicker, or get rid of it. Half of the sacks that he took last week weren't on the offensive line. It was on him holding the ball too long. And, one of the things that the Buffalo, I think it was a linebacker, Edmund said that from Buffalo was one of the things we picked up on film was Sam Howell holding on to the ball too long. So, even if they can improve those three things a little bit, it gives us a little bit more of a fighting chance. And, I think the biggest thing overall is, we're going to have 0 or 1 turnover if we have any chance of wanting to win this game. If we have 2 or more turnovers, put a fork in it, Philly will win. But it'll be interesting to see if EB goes back to the run game as well. We did fairly good with B-Rob and AG minus the fumble with the running game, and unfortunately, even though it's not high profile and liked by a lot of the fans, the running game was kind of our bread and butter for the last couple of years, and even so much in week 1 and 2, and ball control, time of possession. So
gotcha. Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Zach, let me ask you a question real quick. There's a comment here coming in from TJ. I like what I see, but Jalen has to settle down in the pocket. I mean, what do you see with that here? I mean, is it the coordinator situation here where, he's trying to keep him in the pocket here a little bit more, avoiding the run to play another day? I mean, this is a 17-week season here. What do you see in that?
So I don't see him putting his body on the line like Josh Allen is doing, but ultimately I think it comes down to getting your offensive coordinator, your coordinator getting familiar with you. Like Dallas Goedert for the first 3 weeks has still really not existed. I know he had quite a few catches last week, but still he hasn't been involved as much as we would like to see him involved. Devonta Smith, it's every single week it seems to be one guy's week, and then the rest of them just sit back and watch. I'm waiting for the offensive coordinator to figure it out. Hey, we got one of the better tight ends in the league. We got 2 number 1 wide receivers. Let's distribute the ball. And I think some of that has to be Jalen getting comfortable in that offensive system because, again, it's another offensive coordinator in his career. Last year was the only time he had back-to-back same offensive coordinators. This year, he's got another new offensive coordinator. So now he's learning to get comfortable in it. And if you've ever played the game of football or any sport, you're at your best when you don't have to think about the game, When you're thinking, things happen a little bit slower. So I think this is just all the tinkering between the quarterback, the receivers, and the offensive coordinator. They're going to get it down. We just got new coaches, defensive, offensive. It's going to come together. We just got to go through our progressions, our bumps in the roads, and we'll get there. But other than that, and I know Jalen ended up coming out. Supposedly he was sick that game. Just something about him just looks a little off. I don't know if it's the shoulder injury. I don't know if it's like a confidence thing. Like I said, they got a new offensive coordinator. Maybe it's just getting comfortable, but I don't see that, kill in his eyes, that kill shot moment where he's going for the deep ball. And that also has to defensive playing them differently. Now they're like, listen, we're going to give up whatever you want underneath. You got to take it. And I think that's one of the things Jalen is still learning, that not everything has to be a 60-yard pass to Devonta and AJ. You can settle for stuff underneath. So I think with the new offensive coordinator and with defenses playing them completely different, he's just kind of trying to get in a rhythm, and he's got to learn to just take whatever's given to him.
Yeah, I know Steve has a question here before. I just want to say you're exactly right. I think I think it's a continuity thing. Learning, with the OC, learning his position here, learning the wide receivers, what they're great at. But with Jalen Hurts, I see a different type of animal in him this year. He's got to learn. I coach up here and I say 4 times 3 is a first down. Take what they give you. Move the sticks. Everything doesn't have to be that progression downfield, the highlight film. Take what they give you. And that's something we're seeing multiple looks from other defenses too. They're showing him different looks this year. Last year we're worried about his legs. We're worried about his legs. We got to play differently. Different year this year. But Steve, what is your question here? I mean, what's going on down there in the Commander's mind now? What question do you have?
Well, the one question I had for Zach, our resident Eagle expert and fan here, was, with the emergence of DeAndre Swift as, a prolific running back in accumulating the yards that he has, is Sirianni and Johnson now going to use him exclusively, or are they still going to be trying to do a running back by committee like they did the first 2 weeks?
So right now, I think it's DeAndre Swift's job to lose, but this is a team that's never strayed away from running back by committee. So if Kenneth Gainwell comes in and he starts rolling and he's on a hot streak, I don't foresee them going away from that. But ultimately, I believe now it's DeAndre Swift and everybody else behind him. But don't stray away from other guys getting the ball too. So it's going to be DeAndre Swift getting the majority of the carries, but they're going to swing in just like their defensive line. They're going to rotate guys in, keep them fresh, and get them going, because the biggest part of this offense is the run game.
I agree with that 100%. And I listened to both of you here. Last week, with being the Cowboys, resident here, 3 offensive line were missing. Tyron Smith, Tyler Baez, and Zach Martin. You got to run chips, especially this week with the Commanders and Eagles. You got to run a chip on this nasty D line, and that's something Dallas didn't even do last week. And it paid off for Arizona, getting pressure on Dak. You put it in his hands to throw the ball. I'm not happy about him throwing the ball. He can't make the right reads, but this Commanders team, man, if they don't get some, this offensive line doesn't, show some continuity this week. Your man Sam Howell might be in for a long night there, Steve.
Yeah, it very well could be, and then the question becomes, if Sam Howell has another dismal week or half, or, just trending in that direction, at what point in time do you let the kid keep learning, or do you go to Jacoby Brissett, as the backup quarterback to try and be a little spark, for that offense? Like, I don't know.
No way.
With a young guy.
Zach, does Jacoby scare you if they bring in Jacoby?
That doesn't scare me. I watched a lot of Sam Howell at North Carolina.
Yes.
And this kid has shown such tremendous growth. The only reason he didn't get drafted higher than he was is because a lot of people forget that last year at North Carolina, he lost both his number 1, number 2 running back, number 1, number 2 wide receiver. The O-line was dismantled. But other than that, you showed the toughness, the grittiness, exactly what I talked about with this Commanders team, how they keep grinding no matter what. They put 3 points on the board last week. They probably should have had none, but they grinded out 3 points, and that's not a knock. I'm just saying that they did not give up until that game was over. So ultimately, what I see with Sam Howell is the best way to get through this season is to go through the bumps and bruises, go through the learning curve, because this kid, the years that he started at North Carolina, he only got better. And even though he had that tumultuous last year, that was a learning experience for him. I think that has helped tremendously in his career thus far, even as short as it's been.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that. Like I saw him play in North Carolina, and what I like about how he's a gamer. Like he will he full effort. He'll run. He'll sacrifice his body. He'll do whatever he has to do. But when you don't protect him, he's going to struggle. But I like Sam now. I think, but no way you sit him, Steve. No way. I agree with Zach. Just let him learn the whole season, and he'll be much better off for doing that, I think.
I agree. You put all your eggs in the basket here. You got rid of, Heineke last year. You shipped them out. This is Sam Howell's team right now. Learn with it. It's a 17-week season. Who knows? Just like Zach said it, North Carolina, he played great, but it is what it is. You got to keep continuing. Mike Pepperning says Sam Howell will be under distress the whole game from the Eagles defense. Then, hey, listen, Bieniemy's got to run a chip system. He's got to run an extra chip, run a 12 personnel. Hell, if it's that bad, run 13 personnel if you have to.
Run the quick game. Run the quick game. Get rid of the ball fast. Let's just add to your weapons. They have weapons.
Sure.
Use them in a different way.
Sure. Okay, let's last way to wrap this up here with these two teams here. I could care less about these two damn teams. I hope it ends up a tie personally.
I hope it's a tie too.
I do too. Thank you, Dan. We agree on something. At least two people agree here, Dan. But Zach, I'll let you go first since your home field here. What's the final score?
Oh man, I hate giving out final score predictions because I could pick anything out of a hat and it's got as good as a chance as making it.
You texted me earlier and said you thought Miami was good. Wait till this week. That's what you texted me earlier.
I did not. I did not throw up a 70 piece. I'm gonna say realistically 35-21.
Okay, all right, 35-21. Well, Steve, at least you got 21 points according to Zach here. I mean, hey, what do you feel?
It's kind of interesting because even, when we did Commander's Gridiron Tuesday evening, I threw out a number that, look, I wholeheartedly think that the Eagles are going to score at least 30 points on us. And, if we can get a couple, maybe 2 touchdowns and a field goal, I'd be happy with that. So I can honestly see this being like a 34-17, 34-20 game. I feel like we're going to be able to score some points on the Eagles, but we're just not going to be able to keep up with them and that prolific offense. So, like I said, I'm going to be going like 34-17, cut it in half. And, unfortunately, we end up 2-2 after this week.
Real quickly, one of the weaknesses for the Eagles is speed on the outside. And they got 3 receivers that have speed. So if they can get Sam Howell some time, there's potential for big plays there. And that's what the Eagles got to do. That defense has got to hit home. They got to get Howell off the mark. They got to get him moving. But ultimately, get the playmakers involved for the Commanders. That's the number one thing they can do. Whether they build some time, they take some deep shots, or just throwing out those screens, quick slants. Get these guys the ball in their hands because they're quick. They can make a guy miss and take it 60 yards to the house. They just need to get their playmakers the ball in space.
I agree with that. I think the person that's going to expose them is Jahan Dotson with that speed in the middle of the field. You want to get to that second level behind the linebackers in that forbidden zone with the safeties and the linebackers. I think that's where the Eagles can be beat. Zach, you said it, 3 wide receivers with speed, great route running. If Howell gets time, it could be a good game for Howell in the Commanders here, but I'll give you my final score here. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a Dolphins game, blowout, but I had it, in the Commander show, Steve, I told you, I said 44-21 Eagles here. Dan, what do you got? I know I really want to tie, Dan, but, I'm being realistic.
35-14 Eagles.
Okay, 35-14. Okay.
Something like that. I just don't see the Eagles losing this game.
Okay.
I think their offensive line, that I think Washington even end up getting tired this game if their offense isn't good for Washington. That's bad news.
Gotcha.
So 35-14 Eagles.
All right, so we're all agreeing here that the Birds, are going to go 4-0 here, correct? Pretty much, right?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about a game, real quick. Dan, you guys play on Monday night. We'll talk about this team that shit the bed last week, going to Arizona. A bomb was dropped on them in the desert heat, just like TJ said earlier. Patriots. I'm scared about this game, number one, because there was a blueprint set how to expose Dak Prescott. Put pressure on him, take away your number one read, make him beat you. And over 2 seasons last year with the 15 picks, 20 picks, whatever the hell he had last year, it scares me because you're going against the Yoda of defense here. Sunday night he was in his room watching exactly these blueprints of how to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And I think it was a little bit exposed tonight. What do you guys think first?
You asking me first?
I don't give a damn.
I wouldn't say they were exposed. I think their play calling wasn't very good. A lot of penalties in this game. Their inefficiency in the red zone was bad again. They got in a hole early in this game, and when you're in a hole early, you kind of lose, what you're trying to do. But the play calling definitely wasn't good, especially towards the end game, and the penalties at very key times late in this game. I really think they also left some points off the board. That may have made it different. But it just goes to show anybody. I thought Dallas would win this game, but the Cardinals, I think it's a little bit of both. Dallas didn't play well, and the Cardinals might be better than we think they are.
Hey, well, listen, Zach, I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
All right, so I got to ask you a question. Kellen Moore, we blamed him for the offensive play calling. Now Kellen Moore is gone. He's there with the Chargers. Once again, we're sitting here talking about the play calling. At what point do we say maybe Dak is just so limited that the play calling is what it's going to be no matter who we have there? And is there a chance that we start to package? I'm not saying he's going to take his spot, but package some plays for Trey Lance to come in and kind of switch it up. I'm not saying college style where you got 2 quarterbacks playing at once, but hey, maybe the quote-unquote wildcat back in the day like Miami used to run, but maybe we package some plays for Trey Lance just to get involved to kind of spark the offense. But ultimately, if the Cowboys want to win this game, they got to keep Dak clean and happy, because when things are going great, like I said earlier in the show, they're great for Dak. When things start to go down, he plays like he's in quicksand. He starts to struggle, and that's the number one thing. I like Dak. I like him as a player. I like him as a person. I liked him at Mississippi State. But ultimately, things have to be perfect for him. He can't make off-scripted plays like he used to back at Mississippi State or even prior to breaking his leg, a year or two ago. But now he's got to play within the system, play within the pocket, and if things aren't perfect for him, he's going to have a bad day.
Yeah, I like the question you asked me there, Zach. I'll tell you the truth. Last year, everybody called, Kellen Moore coming into the league from Boise State, a QB in the system, a backup quarterback for the Cowboys. A lot of people called him, the Wonder Boy, with his play calling when he first came in. Exposed a lot of defenses, very intuitive with the play calling. But last year, you look at under Kellen Moore, Zach had a good year, but he turned the ball over. Is that a system of verbiage, doing too much, as you said, with Dak Prescott? Now, Mike McCarthy, a similar language, but very easier to understand. Quarterback friendly, number one. You're still not finding what you are with Dak Prescott. To me, I miss Kellen Moore because at least he was intuitive to put the players in position to go with a double tight end when you need it. Better play calling in the red zone. We scored in the red zone last year. This year, under McCarthy, we're not doing that. But what you said about Dak, I'm not 100% guaranteed. This is coming from a Cowboy fan. I take a lot of slack from this, even on my show, saying you're a hater. I'm not a hater. I love him. Even from Mississippi State, as you said, good quarterback for different reasons. He's a game manager. When you get behind and you put the ball in Dak's hands, I'm worried. Number one, I'm worried with this Dak Prescott team. I get very worried playing down. Game manager, run the ball. He's a great QB. Play action looks good. Little dinks and dunks, I'm fine. But in this division, you need a better quarterback. I miss Kellen Moore in certain ways, but I don't know. I said this on my last show, Zach. Tell me if what you guys think about all three of you. I said, you know what? You go from Dak Prescott with an unlimited playbook. You go to Cooper Rush with a half playbook. But to me, Cooper Rush looks at his progression. He doesn't care the name on your jersey. He looks for the open receiver. He manages games. He takes what the defense gives you, and he doesn't turn the ball over. That's what the Dallas Cowboys need with an elite defense that they have, Zach. What do you guys think?
So I'm going to start off first. I think Dak Prescott's best ability is his leadership. Number one, that's the reason he won the job back when he did after Tony Romo got hurt, is his leadership is off the charts.
Yes.
Number two, he needs to go back to what he was doing best at his rookie year. Just throw the ball, get rid of the ball, let your playmakers do it. You don't need to do everything. And now he's been quoted superstar. He's the starting quarterback, the star quarterback for the Cowboys. So he's automatically got that bigger head. And now you just see him doing a little bit too much. He's got to go back and dial it back a little bit and listen. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands. You got CeeDee Lamb, you got Gallup, you got Cooks. All of these guys are starting on basically any team in the league. There should be no reason this offensive struggles. And lastly, I know he played in a blowout win, but I would love to see some more Deuce. I think you got a three-headed monster there. Get Deuce involved more. Doesn't mean he's got to get 15, 20 touches. Get him 5, 10 touches.
I completely agree with you. Deuce, after 1 weeks 2, I mean, Ronald Jones got suspended the first 2 weeks, for his little illegal substance event that he had. Week 1 and 2, Rico Dowdy on a practice squad guy, played more than Ronald Jones would have played. Deuce Vaughn comes in, lights up everything, great scat back, great power. He's not afraid to run, which we've seen at Kansas State, running the ball there. But then you think about, they released Ronald Jones. Why didn't Deuce play a little bit more active last week? He was dressed, not one play last week. This, I blame Mike McCarthy, because you need a game breaker out there. You need someone with speed that can get outside, because Arizona's not that fast on the outside. Dallas's offensive line played not fundamental football. Just like week 1, Dan, I told you, that first drive with the RPO with Danny Jones and Saquon, you ran all over us. The defense was over-aggressive. They were over-aggressive running up the pocket. This week, they didn't know what the hell we were doing. Granted, I understand they had 3 offensive linemen different, but I blame the play calling, and I blame the Dallas offensive coordinator for this one, Mike McCarthy, because he didn't put the players in position. But I want Vaughn on the field. I need Vaughn on the field right now.
I agree with that. I think Vaughn should play. You use all your weapons, and if something's not working, you use all you got. And that's the thing about McCarthy is I don't trust him as a play caller. I just don't. I think he gets too cute. His time management sometimes is an issue. Moore had his issues, but their offense looked way more prolific with Moore as the OC.
I agree. He was more innovative. Put the players in spread positions where, and I like what Zach said. Let Dak be Dak. His first year. Let him throw the ball. As Dan, we talked about on the Pick'em show. Yeah. You want a gunslinger sometimes. You don't want a quarterback that just isolates in the pocket, takes the time. You have to have the clock in your head, but you have to take those shots downfield. A.k.a. Brett Favre, the gunslinger. Take the shots, live by it. Die by it, live by it. You have to take the shots to keep the defense honest, because if you don't, you're getting 9 guys in the box, and that's what a lot of teams are doing right now. They do it. And Belichick, we all know what Belichick is. Just TJ said they're one of the best defense in the AFC.
He'll have something planned for Dak. So
that's what I mean. His philosophy is take away your best player, and that goes to disadvantage to the Cowboys. What does Dak do? He reads his number 1 progression so much. You think Belichick's at home saying, we're not going to play that way. We're taking away Lamb, and we're going to make your eyes beat you with your arm.
Make him make the reads, beat you with his arm. That's what you want to do if you're Dak.
Very simple. Yep.
If you're Pats.
I do have one question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I didn't think it was going to happen this soon in the season for your Cowboys, just because of the way they started out with that prolific defense in week 1 and 2. But I was really curious to see at what point in time in the season how the offense and the team in general would react when they were not up in the score at any point in time in the game. So you've always seen the Cowboys be up so far in this season, and then we kind of saw that result against Arizona last week. So I guess my question to you is, if by some chance Bill Belichick, Bill O'Brien, and Mac Jones can get up on the Cowboys, are we going to see a repeat approach or performance from the Cowboys kind of that reflects what happened last week by being down? Or are they going to be able to bounce back, adjust, and kind of be the Cowboys that we expect them to be in this season, and putting up numbers, having a good defense, and coming back?
Well, one word to you, Steve, it's all about Dak Prescott. How is he going to answer the call, put it that way? As I said earlier, I'm scared. When Dallas is down and you put the ball in Dak's hands, I'm scared, against any team, because as a Cowboy fan, it's a turnover waiting to happen. It really is to me. He hasn't proved to me that he can play from behind. I mean, you go back a couple years, Dallas has had a good defense. Their offense was great in a couple years where the defense sucked so bad, giving up 30 points a game in previous seasons, led the league. Then you go to the next season, Dallas's defense is elite, and we can't put up points. And that's exactly what's happened now. We can't put 2 and 2 together here. It's football's a 3-phase game: offense, defense, and special teams. You need all 3 phases. And right now, you can't just have one, which the defense is great right now. The offense is sputterable, basically. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what they're doing. They're sputtering, especially in the red zone. So I'm actually going forward. I'm actually scared. I think the Cowboys will win this game by talent alone with the offense and defense. But this game, I'm not going to put it past them. I mean, this game could be a losable game for us, honestly.
Could be losable.
Is Jerry Jones up next to call plays?
Yeah, right.
I hope they call me. I put my resume in 2 weeks ago. I'm like, get me down there, coach. But I don't know. What
comment here, real quick?
McCarthy couldn't come through with one-time Hall of Famer. What do you expect with that? No, I agree with that. A lot of times we look at Belichick being the greatest coach of all time. Well, he did have Brady. Look what happened after Brady. Of course, Mac Jones was supposed to be the next best thing in the world. But Mike McCarthy, who made Mike McCarthy? Was it his play calling? Was it Aaron Rodgers? What Brett Favre? What was it? I'm not happy with them, honestly. I'm really not happy with them. But enough of this Cowboy bull crap, okay? What do you guys think the score is? I'll start first. I have the Cowboys winning 27-21.
I'm going to say 20-14 Cowboys.
Okay. 27-14. Zach, what do you got for me?
I'm going to go 28-17. I think the thing that saves you guys and gets you guys going is the Patriots always seem to start out slow. So they're going to start out slow while the Cowboys try to figure out what they're going to do that game, and then Cowboys will be off and running before the Patriots can catch back up.
Their offense stalls a lot.
All right, Zach has his score. Now, Steve, are you going to go to unanimous here, or are you going to be the outright, lone wolf here against me here this week?
As much as I hate to pick the Cowboys to win, I just don't see Mac Jones pulling it off, because this game is in Dallas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I can definitely see the Cowboys doing like a 24-14 win. I don't think the Cowboys quite get their offense back together the way it should be, but they can do it enough to pull off the victory.
Okay. Well, we do have a lone wolf out there. TJ is a lone wolf, of course. He's 19-10 Cowboys here. There is a question for you, Steve, real quick, but I have one more question for you guys. Steve, are you wearing a Commanders jersey or T-shirt?
So actually, it is a custom Commanders jersey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The quick side note, it's actually kind of interesting that they did this, and they're probably going to do it again when they rebrand. But when they branded the team last year for Commanders, every season ticket holder got a custom jersey.
Oh, that's
cool. Steve, did you notice they spell your last name wrong? That's what they're giving out down there in DC?
Yeah, pretty much. So
now I do have one question for you guys. Okay, this is a return for Zeke here, coming back to Dallas. I know Philly fans, they give standing ovations to teams that players that shit the bed that can't produce right now. Is that something that Dallas should do with Zeke? I mean, he did play years with us, took us great times. Of course, do we give him a standing O, or what do we do with him?
You recognize him. You absolutely recognize him.
Okay.
I mean, along with Dak, he was one of Jerry's boys, right? So, you think there's going to be a little video message or something about Zeke?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jerry Jones and Cabo saying, "You still owe me money, Zeke, for what you weaseled me out of me of." I think that's what the video is going to be about. But yeah,
got one more comment here.
Mm-hmm. Bill, go ahead.
TJ says Bill will do a Vulcan mind meld with Mac Jones.
Oh my God! All right, so we do have the Cowboys unanimously here. We do have 2 decisive unanimous decisions here. Let's keep it. Monday night here. I mean, Dan, what are you guys playing? You guys are playing some birds, aren't you?
Another type of bird. The Sea Chickens, the Seahawks at home this time.
Oh, you're already talking shit with the sea. You're already talking shit calling them Sea Chickens here.
I don't know if I can talk shit. I mean, the Giants' offensive line sucks. Well, the right side sucks. They have no pass rush. But yeah, they're playing Seattle on Monday night prime time, so they'll get their ass kicked again. But I really don't know what's right. I know Andrew Thomas is going to play. He's feeling good. Barkley is probably going to be a game time decision. I think if the Giants can play well, they can win this game, but they really need to find their offense. They're really like kind of looking for their identity all over again a little bit, I think.
What are they?
I think they're run first team and pass second because their offensive line's so bad.
Okay.
Because I think they had the idea that their offensive line would be improved. Their guards are bad, especially last game. They had Thomas out, they had 2 other players out. But if their offensive line is not going to be able to do what they had planned on, you're not going to be able to get those deep shots to Hyatt and Campbell. You're going to have to start playing a quick game like they used to. Start helping Neal with chip blocks. Like the Commanders are going to have to do with the Eagles. You're gonna have to figure something out. And Seattle's a good football team. If they don't get a pass rush, they give Geno Smith a lot of time. Their offense stalls. It's going to be a long day for them. So their offense being efficient is going to be a key for them winning. And I think their defense will play well. They played a little bit better. But like I said, I don't know what to expect from Evan Neal. But we have a new guard, McKeithen. He's probably going to be playing next to Neal, and that's a little bit better combo, I think, so far.
I mean, I think it was Seattle here. I mean, it all falls on Geno Smith, just like with, Dak Prescott here. You have the weapons. You have the weapons to go out and produce. Great running game, great wide receivers. Metcalf, Lockett, and you just go out and give Jacob Smith, arguably the best wide receiver that came out in the draft last year.
Yep.
And Breece Hall in the backfield. It all falls on Geno here. But I don't know. I think the Seahawks go after your young DBs, Dan. I really do.
I think they do also. I do like what I've seen from Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins. I like their aggressiveness. I think Banks is going to be a real good player.
Mm-hmm.
I thought McFadden played well, but the problem is their pass rush. Like TJ said, they're going to try to exploit them. But I think Banks has played well. Hawkins maybe not as well. McKinney's looked really good all season in the safety, but the issue is if you can't get a pass rush, we saw during the 49er game. I mean, they have weapons just like Seattle, and there are times where players were wide open.
Yeah, sure.
Where they made mistakes. I think it had to do with their rookie corners,
Mm-hmm.
and their defense got tired. But that's the 49ers, so we'll see how they do. I think their defense will have the effort, but will they have a pass rush? I really don't know. Will their offensive line play well on the right side? I don't know. I can't say for sure.
All right, Zach, what do you see in this game? I mean, you're sitting at 3-0 here. What do you expect from this game here with the Seahawks, loaded on offense, versus a Giants team that we don't know right now?
So first of all, I want to say the Giants shocked everybody last year. You got the first-year head coach. They minimized what Daniel Jones had to do. You've seen Daniel Jones not forcing passes last year. He was tucking and running instead of throwing the ball in the other team's hands. He wasn't holding on to it, trying to find something, getting strip sacked. He was taking off and running. And that was one of the best aspects that they had last year. Last year's over. This year, everybody knows what that offense is going to look like. They know how limited that offense is. Now, granted, they played 3 very good defensive fronts, regardless of whether they had their starting linemen or without their starting linemen. They played 3 very good defensive fronts. As the Cowboys know, the Cardinals aren't anything to blink an eye at because they got a pretty good defensive front too. All that being said, everyone scores on the Seahawks. If the Giants were ever to get something going, or at least have a little glimmer of hope of what could potentially be when everything's going great, this has to be the game that shows it. Everybody and their mom scores on the Seahawks. The Giants have to be able to score. And then the last thing I want to say, because I know you keep bringing up Evan Neal, mind you, Andrew Thomas, year 1, he was okay. Year 2, he was okay. Year 3, he was considered maybe a top 15, top 10 left tackle. Now all of a sudden he's top 10, top 5. I'm not saying Evan Neal's going to be that, but sometimes it just takes time. He's a big body. He's a big boy, and he's still learning to play at an NFL level. He's got to be able to move them feet a little quicker, but I'm not giving up hope just yet, especially when you got the rookie center, who I hope once the more he plays, it's really going to bring the continuity of that offensive line so the guards won't matter as much. But the guards have been the weakness for like the last 10 years, it feels like, for the New York Giants. It doesn't matter who they get at the tackle, it's the guards that have always been the weakness. But overall, defensively, even the best corners are going to hold a wide receiver down for what, 3 seconds max.
Sure.
So if you're not hitting home with that defensive front, you're not going to have a good time, whether you're a rookie corner or you're an all pro corner. It's going to be difficult following these guys around. There's a reason that only the best athletes play defensive back. It's because it's a damn hard job. So in order to make their job easier, Kevon Thibodeau has to figure out how to get that motor going. I thought he was going to be like an Aiden Hutchinson, where no matter what, he was just going to keep running, getting after that quarterback, double team, triple team, doesn't matter. He's going to find a way. And he has just not shown that. I don't know if he's more concerned with the New York market, like, hey, look at me. I'm flashy. I got my sunglasses on inside, whatever he's got going on. Even at Oregon, Oregon's known for what? All the different jerseys and being
the Nike
cool
brand, the Nike version,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
right now it just feels like he's more concerned with his brand than going out there and ball. And I really hope that's not the case, because he's got a lot of talent. He's got a high end motor. He just needs to be like, no matter what's going on, I got to go get after it. Ultimately, I do think the Seahawks win this game, but I am just hoping that the Giants find a glimmer of hope where this offense starts to come alive, even just a little bit, because this is the team to do it against.
Yeah,
I
anybody
want
can
to.
score them. Them and the Chargers. That's the teams you want to play right now. They don't play defense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just want to respond about Jones. I think that with Jones, I think they're trying to become a more passing offense. He does need to run more, and he seems very hesitant to do that. But the offensive line seems worse this year. Another thing with Jones is he's missing kind of wide open guys, but it's not the easiest position to play. When your offensive line's not in sync, when you don't know what you are, you're finding your identity, like you said. Like the teams know what the Giants are. They know what they're going off last year, and now you see that that's how teams are playing them. You shut down that RPO, you get pressure on him, then you see, and if he can't run, they can't run that. They're not going to be able to win games at all.
Great.
And I really think they really need to go with a quick game if their offensive line is going to keep struggling. But also, like with the offensive line, I thought the offensive line would be better. Like Andrew Thomas is great now. He improved every year. With Evan Neal, I think the guards have been awful, but I think that having a stable guard next to you helps a little bit. But I think Neal will come around. I haven't given up on him. Giants fans have given up. They're like, he's a bust. I'm like, just wait till the end of the year, and then we'll review what Neal is.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And on their pass rush, I think their pass rush is non-existent. And I don't know what it is with Thibodeau. I don't know if he's more suited for a 3-4 than the style they play. I don't know if I thought that he would have a better year starting this year, but he's non-existent.
I think Thibodeau's taking the Dion Coach Prime's example here. He's playing for clicks and not wins.
Well, what Zach said, he's really about I want to play for the big market. I want to prove to the fans that I could play for his organization. He's really about like how he looks, how like his perceives himself is a little. Zach, I kind of agree with that. Like I said, I would rather see them in a 4-3. That's how I prefer my defensive ends to play. When you're playing them in Wink's defense, it's totally different. You're not really using him as much. Sometimes you're dropping him back. Sometimes you're using him out wide. But for Thibodeau, he's got to be better with his hands, and his motor's fine. It's just that he doesn't pass the eye test. He just.
I think he's more of a baller. He's a free baller. You got to let him just go after it. Like, he's not going to fit a specific structure. And Wink, as you've seen with a bunch of defensive ends, they have actually performed better when they're out of Wink's system than inside of Wink's system. I think the number one concern is, hey, we got this guy. We drafted him top 10. Let him just go play. However he gets after the ball, get after the ball. I'm not going to sit here and say, let me drop you back for 10, 15 plays. just your number one job is go after the ball, whether it's in the quarterback's hands, running back hands, go after the ball. I think he needs to give them a little more freedom to kind of get them back on track.
I agree with you 100%. You got to take the leash off this kid. You know what he does, what he did in college, off the ball speed, what he did there. I know it's a Pac-12, a different animal, different breed, but take the leash off this kid. Don't take away his God-given talent of what he does the best. A lot of people look at Parsons, defensive end, off the ball, bull rush. They can put him at linebacker. Some people are meant to do that. Thibodeau is not that guy. Take the leash off him. Get to the QB. You have one job. Do your assignment football. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, Steve, is there anything you want to say about the game? Before I make my final comments.
He said the Giants suck. That's what he said. I heard.
Of course, you got to say that. You're not going to say all the other teams suck, even though they're better than us.
I would hope that the Giants win, as much as I hate to say that, just because you want to see them right the ship.
Steve, you're being banned. This is your last show for saying that shit.
I know, right? But it's gonna be. But the three big factors for your offense is going to be which Danny Jones is going to show up. The one that throws turnovers and is getting sacked, hurry and throw, stuff like that.
Yep.
Or are we going to get the solid Danny Dimes that we had last season? Second, you guys need Barkley on the field. And whether people like it or not, Barkley is a difference maker on the field for your offense. And third, I think somehow, and I'm not quite seeing it yet, is I'm surprised that Waller is not a bigger part of the offense yet so far this season, like he was in Vegas for so many years.
Sure.
For those three things, if you guys can get them kind of synced and on key, I think you guys will do just fine tomorrow night. And the question I was going to throw to Dan was, who bears the bigger responsibility to kind of right the ship to the Giants that got to the wild card last year? Daboll and his offense, or Martindale in the defense?
I'm going to say Daboll and his offense. Because if you could be sustained drives and score points and be efficient on offense, that helps your defense out a ton. And we've seen in the past, you've watched Giant games, you know how they've been. Their offense stalls and the defense gets tired. Their offense stalls, they put their defense on the field, like in San Francisco. Your defense
sounds like my Commanders.
Yep, they got to stop it, and that's been the Giants' trend for many years now. That's how they've been. And another thing, final thing I'll say about the offense, it seems like Kafka doesn't know how to make the right adjustments. Like last year, he was better at it, but this year, for some reason, sometimes he just calls some odd plays. But you have to realize, with the way the offensive line's been playing, like you said, Barkley has to be in the game. I think it dictates a lot. You don't got to worry about Barkley. But me, I think the Giants should run the ball a lot, no matter who's back there, because they can run block. They can't pass block well, but their run blocking is very good, and that's what I'd rather see them do, and then play action off of that. Especially if you have Barkley. Barkley's game time decision. Thomas will play. Glowinski or Lemieux. Lemieux hopefully won't be on the field. Glowinski's not going to play the whole season. Gotcha. Unless no one gets hurt. He's horrible. So, gotcha. But this game, I think the Giants want to play well in front of their fans. It was embarrassment week one at home, even though you're versus a much better team.
Go ahead, say it, Dan. Say it. Who'd you play week one? Say it, Dan. Say it. It. Who'd you play week one? Say the team, Dan. Say it.
The Cowgirls.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you said, Cow. Hey, it's fine.
So, but I think the Giants will win this game by like 3 points.
All right, so give me the final scores. Give me your final scores. Dan, since you're home field
here. I'm
going
to say 24-21. Giants.
24-21. Steve, what do you got for this game here?
It's as much as I would love to see the Giants win, I just somehow think
Steve, you're definitely being banned now, bro. That's the second time you said that. I know why people pick against
them. They look like
I just think that Geno Smith is gonna, Pete Carroll always brings a tough team to the field, regardless of the outcome.
Yep.
Now is the travel gonna affect the Seahawks? Who knows? But it's probably gonna be like Seattle, like 24-17.
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't be too upset with that, but I think the Giants
what score do you have?
Win. So
I'm going to go 38-31 Seahawks.
You're up there with me. I got it 34-21 here. I think that Steve, you said travel. They have an extra day here, so that's not going to be our issue with me. I think the Seahawks put it on them this week. The offense clicks. I mean, the weapons are there, man. It all falls on Geno here to me, but Those are the final picks here. But guys, before we get out of here, let's go over some sponsors here. Steve, I know you're very familiar with this one here. Let's talk about Dugout Mugs.
Hey, so we got Dugout Mugs, and you can log on to Dugout Mugs. Use promo code OOTBSports20 for your 20% off to get your great Dugout Mugs. Basically, for those of you that don't know, they are used baseball bats and custom baseball bats that are sawed off with a hollow center to enjoy your fresh, cold, iced beverage. As the baseball season winds down here and we gear up for the postseason, grab a Dugout Mug. They also make Dugout shot glasses as well. So to get their 20% off, log on to dugoutmugs.com. Use promo code OOTBSports20.
All right. Hey, Dan, I know, a lot of people watch long nights. They got to wake up in the morning. Talk about some Monkey Co. coffee here.
Monkey Co. Coffee Company, the evolution of flavor-infused coffee. They have 3 flavors right now: Sumatran blend, toasted coconut rum, bourbon chocolate chip. They're all excellent. Use the promo code OOTB Sports for a 10% discount off your order at monkeycocoffee.com. They make coffee mugs, t-shirts, travel mugs, cold brew maker, a K-cup, reusable K-cup. You put your own coffee grounds in, use the Keurig. So once again, use the promo code OOTB Sports at monkeycocoffee.com for 10% off your order. Evolution of flavor-infused coffee.
Hey, and last but not least here, if you're needing an attorney, reach out to my good friend, my boss. I work for him constantly. I don't work in the office, but I work from home for him. 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine, Attorney Big Al. Motor vehicle accidents, slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims. 3 convenient locations throughout Philadelphia, Cherry Hill, and of course my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh. If you mention out of the box, I promise if we take your case, no recovery, no fee. We promise you 33 1/3%. That is the out-of-the-box guaranteed discount if we take your case. So once again, 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine, give him a call for all motor vehicle accidents, slip and fall, workman's comps, and any personal injury claim. So, guys, this is another week here. Hey, are we still the Beast of the East? Have we lost that title yet, or are we still the Beast of the East in all of football here?
I think the Nfc East is still one of the better divisions of football. Giants, I thought would haven't been as good, but I think Washington will be better this year. So Dallas and Philly would be fine.
Okay.
Most of the year, I think so. All
right, Zach, real quick. You're the newest guy on the panel here. As I always want to ask the new people, what is your record for the entire season here? Looking down the line, where do you have the Eagles?
Love asking these questions.
I do.
Who knows?
I'm going to go, and I'm going to be overzealous here. I'm going to go 13-4.
Okay. What team scares you?
None, to be honest with you. You don't play to get scared. You play to win.
Very true. Great answer. I love that answer.
Wow.
But, okay, well, give me – you got 4 losses. Give me 2 of your losses then.
Oh, man. You're going to make me comb through the schedule and try to predict my losses?
Well, you should say
You're
one of the
horrible person.
Zach, you should say one of the teams are on this panel right here. I think you're going to lose to them. I don't know if you believe the same thing, but I think one is right above you right now. Don't you think?
Realistically, we usually split at the very least with the Cowboys. Sometimes we lose 2 games to none, but usually it's a split to the Cowboys. The Cowboys have known to own us over the last handful of years, and we're looking to change that because Ezekiel Elliott's gone. We don't got to worry about 100-yard games constantly against Philadelphia. So realistically, you have Dolphins, you have the Bills, you got the Niners, and then maybe one of the games against the Cowboys. There you go.
I think you have the 3 losses there. The Cowboys, the Niners, possibly Dolphins, and the split is going to be with the Cowboys. So I can see that 13-4 popping in there realistically. Before we get out of here, hey, Zach, where can my people find you at? I know we talk a lot, off camera here. Where can my people find you at, Zach?
Yep, so I'm down at Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Best way to listen. Download the iHeartRadio app. Search Zach Harris Sports. Best, easiest, most efficient way. And then you can follow me on Twitter. I don't really post much on Twitter, but if you want to reach out, ever ask any questions, it's at ZachFS980.
Gotcha. Hey, Dan, I know you're a regular here, of course. Where do these people find a Giants fan at on this network?
Well, on Twitter.
On the network, Dan. After last week, I think you just want to go to Twitter so you can now be found. But where's your show at on this network, Dan?
Big Blue Power, 11 a.m. new time on Sundays. Joystick Junkies Mondays at 4:30 p.m.
Oh, so you're not on prime time anymore after last week, huh? They moved you to Sunday mornings now, huh?
No, it's better to do it Sunday morning game day.
Yeah, I know.
Well, not game day this week, but
oh, okay. Well, Steve, at least you're on a nighttime. When did they find your show?
Commander's Gridiron is every Tuesday night at 6:30, and also majority of the time I'm also here on Thursday nights in the NFC East War Room with you guys. So
sounds good. And also my show, the 215 Boys, Wednesday in prime time, 9:30 slot. If we lose this week, we might be right before Dan at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. Who knows? The boss might demote us, but. Guys, this is here. I mean, football's about to start in 3 minutes here. Real quick, what are your predictions really quick tonight? Just give me a score on who wins this game tonight. Lions and the Packers.
All right, I'll go first.
Go first.
27-21 Lions.
Agree. That's what, yep. Dan?
I'm going to say 24-17 Lions.
Steve?
I was going to go 28-24 Lions.
Okay, I got a 27-21 Lions as well. I think it's unanimous too. Too many weapons right now, and I don't believe in Jordan Love yet. So, anything else we want to say before we get out of here, guys? Great show. 4 teams, 4 hosts, 1 show. What can be better? NFC East War Room here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. Make sure you hit the like, share, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. So, guys, anything else you want to say? Final words to the viewers out there. This is your time to shine. You have 30 seconds of fame to represent your team and say the big F you to any other team you want to. So, Zach, since you're the newest member here tonight, I will let you have the floor.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for inviting me on and being such gracious hosts, and also cheering for my Eagles to go 4-0 this week, even when you're a Commanders fan. So thank you for that. And then lastly, I just want to say, go Birds.
All right. Well, first I just want to say it's my money talking in my pocket. That's why I took the Birds this week. Otherwise, it would be a total 180 on that one. But, Steve, you're floor for 30 seconds.
Man, I know we're probably going to end up with the loss, but as long as we can do a little bit better than last Sunday, I'll call it a victory in my book. So
all right.
That's all I'm asking for. A little progress on last Sunday.
Gotcha. Dan, I'll give you the floor, too, for 30 seconds.
Give me a win on prime time. I hope the Commanders and Eagles have a tie, and go Patriots.
Yeah, you always have to throw a jab in there somewhere, don't you? Always. Well, my 30
can't
seconds
root for
is
Dallas. Sorry.
Yes, you can. Okay.
Nope.
Yes, you can. Anyway, my 30 seconds,
Never.
Zach. Your family here more than welcome to hop on anytime. We were doing a college football frenzy last week, 2 weeks ago. Great show with you. You're always welcome to join us. Just let me know when you want to hop on. Thank you so much for joining in. Please check out Zach on 980 Fox Sports out there. Great guy,
Absolutely.
Great gentleman. And all I can say is F you Giants, F you Commanders, and F you Birds, go Cowboys.
F all your teams.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I went over 30 seconds. I should have just put it that category there. But guys, are you guys ready to get out of here?
Yep,
absolutely.
All right, guys, please check it out. Next week's NFC East War Room, 7 p.m., 4 hosts, 4 teams, 1 show on the Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. For myself, Paul Spencer, Dan Connor,
Danny,
Zach Harris, and Steve Loffman. We'll see you next week, same time. Have a great week.
Take care, everybody.